Eddie Soldiers. It's raining outside today, so I'm all cozy at home in my sweatpants with my tea and a full face of makeup on. I disappeared for about a month off of YouTube and most social media, to be completely honest, except for TikTok because it's the overlord to which I bow to now. But in between moving, redoing my apartment, going back to school full-time, going back to work full-time, starting to see somebody new, I fully burned out and I needed to take some time off. But now I am slowly re-entering back into YouTube land with this very fun, fresh, and imaginative video of a September wrap-up. My September reading was a roller coaster because at the very beginning of the month, I was not having it. I finished like one book in the first 2 weeks, and then I finished the rest of them in the last 2 weeks. I feel like this entire month I've just been overtired and undercaffeinated, and we're gonna bring that energy to today's video. So without further ado, grab a drink, grab a snack, and buckle up, bestie. We're doing a September reading wrap-up. First off, I want to talk about the dark fantasy swashbuckling adventure that was Crossbones by Kimberly Vale. Wattpad sent me an advance copy of this. This comes out October 5th. Thank you so much, and thank you to everybody that participated in my TikTok giveaway. The death of the Pirate King calls for the trials for the new Bone Crown, and for 3 competitors, they will fight life and limb for bloody revenge and power. We have Scylla, the first female captain who's aiming to be Pirate Queen, Kane, son of a pirate and black market dealer, and Lorelei, a country girl whose secret bloodline catches up with her. The pacing of this was a little fast-slow, but overall, the energy of this book was so good. You felt like you were in the middle of the action. Of course, our main love interest is a bloody bad boy full of self-loathing with a good soul and like, all right, they're Oscar Wilde, tone it down. There was plenty of tension and anticipation, especially with all of the plot twists happening at the ending. I had an epiphany about this book, and that is, if I was 15 reading this, this would have been my shit. But because I am 26 reading this, it was just okay. But at least I'm recognizing and admitting that and not just shitting on it because it's a book for teenagers. For that giveaway, I asked people to leave the name of their pirate ship in the comments. Mine would be the Copper Queen if I were out there ruling the seas, and I got some amazing answers that I want to share with all of you today. I feel like I got 3 different categories of pirate ship names. So first of all, we have the terrifying ones. So ones named like the White Phantom, the Widowmaker. Then we have the more whimsical or fantastical names like the Solove, Dream Wanderer, the Lost Church. And then thirdly, we have the names that would truly strike fear into the enemy's hearts, like the Codfather, Nacho Boat, or my personal favorite, Kevin. Next up is a book very opposite that, but I heard from Book Talk, of course, where else do I get my information nowadays? This was pitched to me as a new adult historical true bloody enemies to lovers romance, and that is A Heart of Blood and Ashes by whoever's here. I had a whole month to figure this out, and hold on. A Barbarian Romance by Mila Vane. The wars between the Parsanth barbarians and the Walled Kingdoms to the south have come to an end when the barbarian king and queen are assassinated, and our Prince Prince Matic goes out to avenge their deaths. Last in a long line of warrior queens, Yvaine is small and weak and has to rely on her sharp-tongued wit. And though true enemies that absolutely hate each other, Yvaine and Matic are brought together in a proposed marriage alliance that will allow them to gain vengeance on the other's kingdom. I ended up liking this a lot more than I expected to because I was expecting just some low-ball barbarian smut, but this ended up being a very heavily political, spicy, well-world-built novel with fantastic character development. Like, what did I just walk into? Reading this book was like seeing something that you liked in the window of a boutique, walking into the store, realizing that it was the last one in your size, on sale, and it made your butt look great. Like, what is this? This had a great combination of smut and story. The thing is that I realized something about myself while reading this, and that is that I don't like barbarian romances. But if you do, I'd recommend this. All right, next up is an example of why I'm dubbing September Danielle L. Jensen month, because I got a lovely PR package from the author that included The Bridge Kingdom, so obviously I read this one first. Okay, this book is throwing my color balance way off, so Sorry about that. This is a new adult fantasy duology that follows our main character Laura, who is sent under the guise of a political marriage to the Prince of the Bridge Kingdom when really she is sent to assassinate him. But then of course once she's there, it is, oh my goodness, the government's been lying to me all along. Who's actually the good guy? Whose side are we on? In a let's hear it folks, enemies to lovers romance. This book is brutal. We start off the first chapter with a whole lot of murder, like goddamn. It is a super slow burn enemies to lovers, but it has some of the best relationship building that I've ever read because it's two people slowly building trust and being cautious and trying not to give away secrets. Her world building is immaculate. The action scenes are so good and immersive. You feel like you were on the deck of the ship with the storm raging and the icy sea water and like the power of the storm behind you. This book just had me going, hell yeah, bitch, every like 20 pages. And there was like a really nice sex scene. And what I really appreciate about this book is that at the end, the main character does something that's pretty unforgivable, but I'm still rooting for her. So I love the way that it makes you question your own intentions. Because of her actions and the responses that she gets at the end of this, I didn't know how the next book was gonna go. So obviously I had to pick it up right away. The Traitor Queen was also a part of my PR package, and I couldn't just let that sit there. After the ending of the first one, we start off with some torture, have a murderous family dinner, and then bada bing bada boom, we've ended up with a family reunion before we go off to war. Thrilling. I can't really tell you very much about this unless you've already read the first one, but it's a continuation that frickin' slaps. Again, some of the best action that I've read in a really long time. It is engrossing and detailed, but still go, go, go. This book does a really good job exploring actions and consequences that encompasses that guilt and broken trust and trying so hard to rebuild those connections that goes past that typical YA, like, oh, we're so in love, so I forgive you immediately, even though you murdered my whole family, but like we slept together, so it's fine now, you know. I am slightly unclear if this is going to be a series, like sequel, question mark? Where are you at though? Would like to clarify, new adult, not young adult, very different things. So I finished Traitor Queen and I was riding on this high. Like I don't do drugs, but I felt like I needed to like get a fix again. So I immediately read Stolen Songbird by Danielle L. Jensen. Another one that's throwing my color way off. My god, I look tan. What is this? So I have touted the Stolen Songbird series for a very long time. But in that beautiful PR package, she sent me the new hardcover bind-ups and like, girl, it's real pretty. This is a Beauty and the Beast, Hades and Persephone-esque type fantasy romance novel where trolls have been cursed to live under the mountain by a witch for over 500 years, and our main character Cecily ends up being part of an ancient prophecy to free them, so she ends up being forced into a political marriage with the son of the Troll King. But then once she's there, she finds out she's in the middle of a political rebellion and she might find some sympathy in unexpected places. I have read this book before, but it's the first book I've reread since April of 2020, so it hit a bit different. The thing that stood out to me the most with this reread was that there's so much about both of them being 17, and especially Tristan, our dreamy troll prince, being like, you're 17 now, you need to be a man, you need to become the king that you're meant to be, and like, I would just like to share with you a picture of me when I was 17. Now I know that while the resemblance is striking, I am in fact not an actual fantasy protagonist, but when I was 17, my priorities included learning my monologue for drama class, being sad over the fact that I had a crush on 3 boys all named Johnny and none of them liked me, and deciding whether to buy my new pair of jodhpurs for horseback riding in like a stable hand brown or like a basic bitch cream. Like, she's a princess bound by moonlight to her dreamy fairy husband trying to break a centuries old curse and put down a political rebellion. I'm over here trying to find skinny jeans that fit me after my growth spurt. We are not the same person. And this was a lot more on the nose than I remember it being. Like, there's a point where the main character almost verbatim says, but my dark and mysterious past has caused me to do horrible things. And I'm like, all right there, spot the theater kid. I did also read Dark Shores by her, I just don't own it. So I love a good Danielle L. Jensen book. I got these all sent to me for free and I will still shill her out because she is a great author and a very nice person. Before we go on to this next one, I need to take a sip of tea and prepare my voice because there is going to be much screaming happening while we talk about this book. Okay, here we go. This bitch, Iron Widow by Shiran J. Zhao. This bitch fucking slaps. God, I hope my neighbors can't hear me yelling about this right now. This is a brutal sci-fi fantasy genre blend that loosely retells the first empress of China that's like Pacific Rim meets Last Airbender, but with a whole lot more gore, a hell of a lot of murder, and an amazing power throuple. The country of Huaxia is fighting a battle against these alien creatures, and they're doing so with these giant mech bots that hold a male pilot and a female concubine pilot who's often drained of spiritual energy to allow the mech bot to live. Zaytan wants to take revenge for her older sister's death, signs herself up to be a co-pilot, and ends up being a girl who can sacrifice boys' energy to pilot the mech bot instead. That gets the moniker of the Iron Widow. To tame her spirit magic, she's paired up with Shimin, who is the most feared and most powerful male pilot in the province. Along with a childhood friend who seeks into the palace, the three of them start to rely on and use one another in order to take down the system from the inside and figure out why so many girls need to die for this war to happen. From the first page, this book catapults you into the story and you're like, okay, girl, damn work. Y'all know my favorite color is morally gray, and this book seeps it. It exudes it. You could wring this out like a towel. There is so much blood in this. Whenever I read a book, I have a note open on my phone so I can do these monthly wrap-ups and like have talking points of things that I think of or remember or like think are fun. And truly, I have like 2 notes for this book because I just read it so fast. The ending of this, I was screaming, my hands were shaking, I was freaking the freak out. Like, oh, this book is full of rage and I love it. I don't know when the sequel to this is coming out, but you can bet that I'm gonna be using all of my feminine ferocity to elbow my way to the front of that line. Because you underestimate me. You have no idea what I can do. May you remain unsettled. I told you I was gonna go on a rant. I am so sweaty right now. I need a snack break. Okay, and lastly, let's talk about a book that did give me just as many feelings as Iron Widow did, but not quite as violent. Gotta give a shout out to Phoebe at Bloomsbury. Girl, you're the real MVP because she sent me a copy of Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer. A Curse So Dark and Lonely is one of my favorite series. The kingdom of Kandala is in the middle of a plague that can only be cured by a very specific type of moonflower petal. Our main characters are Tessa, an apothecary assistant who masquerades at night as kind of an outlaw to distribute medicine, and the 2 princes, Haristan and Korik, who recently have ascended to the throne due to an assassination of the previous king and queen. Korik is the king's justice and therefore responsible for doling out punishments to outlaws and thieves, but also needs to keep his brother, the king, safe from the rebellion that is slowly brewing due to not having enough medicine for the common folk. Bridget Kemmerer does it again. She is so good at writing romantic tension and anticipation that like the 2 love interests are barely hugging. They're not even touching, and I'm like, ah! She's also incredibly good at writing vulnerability, and I'm just very attracted to that. Tessa is a good, sympathetic, selfless main character, but I really was drawn to Korik. I think he is one of the best male protagonists that I've read in a very long time. That being said, he should go to therapy, but one of my favorite things about him that's stated in like one of his first chapters is that he wants to be feared so that people will not talk to him. And I'm like, my guy, same. Like, why do you think I wear black so often? I always want to look otherworldly and vaguely threatening. And one of the dumbest things that I appreciated about this book is the fact that there are the correct amount of guards around the prince, the king, the guest of honor, Tessa, the consul, just around the palace in general. There are so many fantasy books or books about royalty where these royals are just wandering around their palace all by their lonesome and are one wrong hallway and a very mediocre assassin from having their entire line wiped from Succession. Like, what are you doing? You don't even need a whole unit of them. Just like 2 or 3 is probably enough to satisfy your royal security needs. Like, I brought this book to work and I was just side-eyeing it the whole day. All I wanted to do was read this book. I missed 2 train stops on separate occasions reading this book because I was so engrossed, and every once in a while I realized that the train was still and I look up and I'm like, Metrotown, what am I doing here? So if a fantasy Robin Hood royal story is something that you're looking for, I would highly recommend this book. And that is that on that. That was my September wrap up. I felt like I read the same book 6 times and I enjoyed myself every single time. But see, this is what readers like. We want something similar to something that we've already read, but slightly different so that's not the actual same book. Like, I fully accomplished that with everything I read this month. Thank you everyone for being here. This video took me 2 hours to film. So part of that is because my next door neighbors came home in the middle of filming this and decided to just talk outside in the hallway for like 15 whole minutes instead of actually going into their apartment. So there's that. But then again, I've just been screaming about like murder and sex for the last 2 hours, so I can't really fault them for it. Please leave down below if you have any questions or comments on any of the books that I read this month, if you want to fangirl about any of them, if you want to know how PR works, because a lot of these I did not purchase myself. And you would think like, oh, that's so great, you're saving so much money by getting books sent to you. Yeah, tell it to my bank account and the book buying spree I went on at Chapters the other day. You can bet there's gonna be a book haul on this channel in the near future. You know, I wasn't feeling super great about myself or my productivity today, so just filming this video kind of reminded me why I like doing this. So fingers crossed that I can implement this new filming schedule and I can get stuff up on a more regular basis. You know where to click like the video, you know where to click to subscribe. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!